November 7th, 2019 meeting of the school committee. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Thank you. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair which may be discussed at this meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being videotaped for cable. We would like to welcome our student representative, Maggie McCafferty. Thanks for being here, Maggie. It's nice to have you join us. First up is the approval of the minutes from our September 9th meeting.
Moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we'd like to recognize the students who earned a perfect score on the 2019 MCAS test in either ELA or math. Mrs. Goulet and Mr. Bodwell, could you join me at the podium?
So, Roselle McDonald had 3 students last year who got a perfect score in the ELA MCAS. Not only is that a huge accomplishment just in general, but for 3rd graders, it's the first time they've ever taken the test. So kudos to them and their families. So I'd like to have them come up. Kira Kogovan. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Kaylin Gallivan. And stay up here. And Jason McLean.
Thank you. Okay, so let's make sure I have the right one there. Kurt's here. All right, we have 2 students. One is an 8th grader. Well, took it in 8th grade, but he's not here. That's Kurt Heath for 8th grade math. And for 10th grade math, Aaron Zhang. So very proud. Hand it to him. Congratulations.
Congratulations. No, I want to get a picture.
All right.
Congratulations.
MCAS.
We love it. It is a big thing when you think about it. We've all taken tests online, and to get every single thing right. I mean, because you can second guess yourself. There's not just in this new next gen MCAS is very. It's not just multiple choice, but there's essays and constructed response and short answer. I mean, it's all over the gamut. So when someone can really look at that, take their time, go through it, and get a perfect score, that says something. So I really want to congratulate all of you. Great job. Keep up the good work.
Okay. Thank you for coming out tonight to be recognized, and we're going to take a 2-minute recess for you all to carry on with your night. Thanks, Joe. Okay, we are back. Superintendent's update, Dr. Oakley.
Now that we just did the perfect scores on MCAS, I want to give a little update. The scores just got mailed out today. The actual parent scores got mailed out today, right? Was when they went out. So we really just got them a couple weeks ago. And not the parent ones, but our overall preliminary scores. So we've been looking at preliminary scores. But last Wednesday, we had a half day, and we did a district-wide data review that we usually do. And anyone that had MCAS scores, we looked at those because we want to use the assessments for something useful. We want to use the assessments to help inform our instruction. And so we had groups of administrators and teachers look at that information, and then other teachers that didn't have specific MCAS data, it's always good to look at student work and other types of data. So we usually spend that first half day in September, the end of September, looking at our data and trying to really dig deeper and into the data and see how it can inform us so that we can improve our instruction, but also to reduce some of the achievement gaps that we find. So I just want to give you, I'm not giving you a big presentation because, like I said, we're just working on it now. I like to give you more information after groups have worked on it and they come up with more specifics from really digging deeper and coming up with, okay, so we saw that maybe we need some work in this, what are we going to do? Just giving you the results doesn't give you as much as if we say, okay, but how are you going to address that? And that's really the important piece, how we're going to address it. So I'll just give you a little overview of preliminaries so you get an idea, and then we'll do more at the next meeting when we start getting the action plans back from the teams. But just an overview, we always look at how do we do compared to the state. And I didn't even break this one down by subgroups, but how we did against the state, and really, except for 4 areas, we were above the state across the board in both ELA math and all across in science. Grade 4 ELA and math and grade 6 ELA and math, we were a little below the state, and those are some of the things that we want to look at. Grade 8 math, slightly below, I think it was by like 2 points. Everywhere else, we were above the state. And one thing that we did notice we wanted to look at is, I said, achievement gaps. Our biggest gap that I found, especially in the elementary school, was students who receive Title I services. Because you can look at the data from the DESE and they break it down to disability, race, ethnicity, economic status, and other services. And our lowest subgroup compared to the state subgroup was Title I students, students that get Title I services. So those are not students on IEPs, but they're students that may struggle in reading and mathematics. They don't actually have a disability, but they're struggling and they need help, so they get Title I services. And that was something that popped up that we were looking at and we're going to address and look in that area, because that group was lower than other Title I students throughout the state, and that didn't make sense. So we want to look into that and see what does it have to do with our instruction or the curriculum that we're using, the model. So sometimes it's a different type of model at different schools of how we instruct these kids. So we're going to look into that. But I will say, this year, our next biggest subgroup is special education. And I had brought Corey in when I got the preliminary results, because we looked at it at the grade levels that our special education has really increased versus, special education kids across the state, and closing our gap with our non-disabled kids. And I believe that that's because of how, with Corey here, we've been changing the program and bringing things in more in district, and the more inclusive co-teaching that we've been working on for 2 straight years to really bring that program. And what that does is you're not pulling the kids out of the class as much. They're in, so they're not losing instruction. And that was really our goal, to go more in this model. And so it's nice when you do all this work and then you can actually see results from it. And the state does a good job doing all the subgroups and putting things together. So when I brought him in my office to show it, I said, look at this. He was like, we got to use this because, I want to tell the teachers. And honestly, I've seen some of the teachers, and I said, I know sometimes at MCAS time when I come in, it was Evie Andrews in 7th grade, I walked in, I said, it's like bad news, and you're like, oh, I said, but I need to come in specifically and say, wow, so what you're doing is working with, and we've spent 2 years now on co-teaching and really having the special needs teacher work with the regular ed teacher as partners, as co-teachers. And that's what we're going to kind of look at, because I have a hint, we're not sure, we have to do a little more of a root cause analysis, but I have a hint that that could be the Title I, and we've looked at, because that happened a few years ago when we looked at the McDonald data, and then we changed our model to a complete push-in, and this year they're up. And it just they're missing core instruction, and they need to have the same instruction, but they need the support within the classroom. So those are some of the things that I saw. As far as, did we improve from last year? In most cases, we did improve from last year. And don't forget, this is the second full year for grades 3 through 8 of the next generation MCAS. And every year they add a little bit more, and it's a little more challenging. It's a different type of MCAS than the legacy. The legacy, I try to explain, especially like the 10th grade legacy was to see if kids were ready to graduate from high school. The 10th grade now is, are you ready for college? And there's a difference between those two things. And in the elementary school, it was, did you get everything you needed for 4th grade? Now it's, are you ready to do 5th grade? And it doesn't sound like there's much difference, but there is a difference in that. And that's why it's a more rigorous test. So the increase from one year to other, you can't always look at it because it's a different cohort of kids, but if you do look at it, our 3rd grade went slightly down from last year, and we're looking into that. The 4th grade English went down, and then the 6th grade in both went down. Everyone else improved. The 10th grade was a brand-new test. It was a brand-new test. It was the first year of the new test for 10th graders. So the scores are different. It's a completely different test. So we'll be working on that also. And I think it's important to note that. So one thing that I did look at, because it was interesting, I had someone say the 6th grade really had lower scores this year, and we need to take a look at that. And so I was interested, so before I came here, I looked and said, well, maybe it's the cohort. Is there something about the cohort? Is there something we have to look at? And I really didn't find any data with that, because when those kids were in 17, they, were well above the state in meeting and exceeding expectations, and then in 18 they went down a little, in 19 they went down, so they went down, but their partially meeting went up. And if you look at their ELA, they went way up in 5th grade and then down again in 6th grade. So you can't even look at it from a cohort. So those are the types of things that we have everyone looking into, because you can dig so much deeper and really find, is there a certain area? Is it the new constructed response? Is it the essay? Is it the question type? Is it the strands on the different things? So that's what we're looking at. We will give you more information on that, because again, I think it's more important when, instead of just looking at the data, you want us to say, and so this is what we found and this is what we're doing with it. Just looking at it doesn't make as much of a difference as, what are you going to do with it now after you analyzed it? So that will be once the principals get the action plans together. But overall, we held our own, but we can always do better. And again, it's not the be-all and end-all, but it is a good assessment to see, where we're going and what we can do better, and are we teaching the curriculum that we need for the kids. So, any questions?
Thank you very much. Student representative update. Maggie?
The Spring Street School had a wonderful start to the school year. They welcomed a total of 157 students, 62 preschool and 95 kindergarten. It's been great to see so many new faces in our school community. They had a successful kindergarten orientation where the students were able to ride a school bus around town with their bus buddies. Bus Buddies is a collaborative partnership that pairs role model Howard students with their youngest Wildcats on the afternoon ride home. It has been an instant success. I appreciate Principal McLaughlin, appreciates Mr. McLaughlin spearheading this new WB initiative. Last but certainly not least, our youngest Wildcats were able to experience their first fire drill, and it went seamless. We had a tremendous group of students this year, and we look forward to a safe and successful school year. As for the Roselle, the students at the Roselle have been getting busy, especially learning the new online supplemented math program. The Pride program is also beginning to teach, and teachers have been incorporating the character trait acceptance into daily lessons. Students who are exhibiting this trait and nominated by their teacher will be recognized at an assembly at the end of the month. For the Howard, there's been a new project which collaborates with the West Bridgewater Library. Each class is doing a book studies and will be writing letters to authors. The students are also preparing for field trips to Legoland and Sturbridge Village. For the middle senior high school, the middle school teams went to Old Colony YMCA for a field trip to learn team building techniques. Early September, the school had held a curriculum night teaching middle school parents about the new orange and green team, as well as high school parents who followed their children's schedule class by class. The whole school participated in Spirit Week and the pep rally showcasing their school spirit. High schoolers had the homecoming dance, which raises money for the Student Council Senior Scholarship. The Plymouth County District Attorney's Office and WB Police brought in the production of the Yellow Dress, teaching grades 10 through 12 about dating violence. The 7th through 9th graders saw the remote control interactive production focusing on dating violence and bystander intervention. Lastly, the Wildcat Leader program continues once a month with the upperclassmen and 7th graders.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank
A
you.
lot of information. Thank you.
That was really fast, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Get it all in.
Had our
All right.
Who won Spirit Week?
Oh, the seniors.
Congratulations.
Don't they just always win, like, by default? Like the applause immediately?
No, I think it's because the seniors are the best.
Obviously.
All right, moving on to business. First up is a voting issue regarding a delegate for the MASC-MASS conference coming up in November. In order to have a vote at the annual business meeting of the MASC, it's necessary that an official delegate be designated in pursuant of Article 9, Section 6 of the bylaws. Mrs. Sullivan, I think we're going to speak to the resolutions.
Yes. So Donna and I attended the resolutions meeting with our division last week. There are 9 resolutions that are being put forward. We were able to get a little bit more in-depth understanding behind the kind of the writings of the agendas and what they're trying to put forward. It's not an exact science with the language, so they were just trying to say, these are just the ideas that we're trying to get up on the hill and so forth. Donna and I also were able to speak with respect to the resolutions. All of the resolutions that we had talked about or that they had discussed at the meeting were all pretty much supported by everyone in attendance. It was a lower attendance this year. We're not really too sure why, but they were pretty much supported.
Do you want to read them? Just.
Oh, sure, I could read them. I believe we all got our books. So the first resolution is banning polystyrene from schools.
Styrofoam.
It's styrofoam, essentially. Thank you. I think I leaned over and I go, what's that? At the meeting.
They told us. I didn't know.
Yeah.
They told us.
The second resolution is pertaining to educator diversity and professional licensure. That was talking about the MTEL. The push behind that is that they want to get rid of it because, for many reasons. One, it's very expensive, and 2, they don't feel that it's an indicator of someone's ability to teach. They say that if you graduate from a program through a college, that's really what you're getting your sum and substance from, and that a lot of people don't test well, so that's not really a good indicator. So there was a lot of conversation on that, and it was all in support. The third resolution was school transportation. And this was talking about trying to get some more money with respect to the special education transportation, which is always, everyone always is in support of. That's pretty much all that was that. For
And
that one, right?
that's one of the parts of the Student Opportunity Act
Oh,
that the Senate
that's-
just worked with.
Yep.
And it's to take that transportation and add that into circuit breaker. for part of the calculation. I think it will be phased in over a 4-year period, but that's one of the things that they did vote, so that's very, very helpful.
Fourth resolution was climate change. They also spoke about, the chairperson spoke about how it's essentially the students that are leading this, that we're following their lead. So I found that that was interesting. This is essentially a student-driven resolution. The fifth resolution was full funding of transportation costs for students in foster care and state care. So we talked about that a little bit by way of the, it's a bit different with the McKinney-Vento Act, but they were saying that this group of children, the numbers are staggering.
Yes, it is.
Essentially. The sixth resolution was universal quality pre-kindergarten access in Massachusetts. So this was originally put forward in 2014, so now they're just bringing it back again. And again, there's still support. There wasn't really any objections on that one. The seventh resolution was poverty in children. This was talking about how students are put at risk because of their poverty status by way of, they were explaining how because of their poverty status that they don't get everything that other kids will get. The perils of poverty, including putting students and families at risk for health, social, and emotional and educational disadvantage. And they were essentially trying to have, the resolution committee wants the members of the MASC to face the obstacles, or to acknowledge the obstacles that these families face and what the impediments to their success are, that other students don't confront. So that was very interesting, actually. The eighth resolution was the resolution for access to menstrual supplies. And you would think in the year 2019 that they were easily accessible. They're not. So I learned a lot that night on that one. And I believe Donna has spoken with,
Yes, I emailed with school head nurse, Julie Deirdrickson.
Deirdrickson.
And she did say that they do have supplies here at the at Howard and at the middle senior school in the nurse's office. However, she confirmed that they have been provided through a grant, I think from Procter & Gamble, she said, but that grant is no longer available. So she was very interested in this because she said that she's anticipating having to replenish her supply here at the high school with her own money. And I said, well, don't do that. We can figure something out. So she asked that we keep her updated on that one.
on that resolution. And then the ninth resolution is the charter school reform. And again, I think that one's being brought up again as well, I believe. So I would ask that if the members of the school committee, if you have any input, or if you have any further questions, Donna, I'd be happy to answer them.
What
And-
night is your voting night?
So,
Yes.
this year, they changed the format last year. It used to be on the first day of the conference. It's a 4-day conference. It goes from Wednesday to Saturday.
Yep.
So now, I think the intention behind it is so that they can get more members if they have the delegate session on Friday.
Which is where it used to be years ago.
That's what they
someone
said.
Yeah.
That's what I
Before
did.
my time. But
Yeah, before our time, too.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And they
So-
do seem to get more people there on a Friday
See,
night.
last year, it was much
There
less,
was
fewer people.
Yeah, it wasn't very heavily attended, the delegate
The
session.
last one I did, there was probably, rough estimate, 200 people there
Wow.
I'll
on
be
a Friday
honest.
night.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but you know what?
That was
One
a
of-
long time ago.
Yeah, but one of the things they changed, and I think this is why Friday isn't getting as much, is it's the way Veterans Day falls.
Correct.
And this year, Veterans Day is Monday,
Oh.
and this goes Wednesday to Saturday into Veterans Day weekend, and I think that's going to cause a problem, just like it did last year, because people leave,
Right.
because it's a long
Sure,
weekend.
I didn't
So-
even realize that.
You'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. We thought for sure they would change it back last year because
Right.
it was the attendance
wasn't
was
very
down, but-
attended very well.
People at the meetings liked it, some of them. mentioned.
Yeah, some of
So-
them that were there for the whole conference.
Yeah,
They
right.
loved it. They thought it was great. But I don't know if that's the majority feeling. So segue into now for the delegate vote, Donna and I are unable to attend Friday night's conference this year. And I believe Molly has stated she would be willing to be the delegate. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you so
Smith.
much.
Molly's volunteering?
Unless,
is.
would you like to go?
Would you like to
You could go too.
I'll go
There's-
with you, Molly.
There's always
Go
two.
together.
Smitty won't say a word, trust me.
We'll make you the
Wait, do you
alternate.
want to be the alternate?
Don't even start with it.
Oh,
I think the
thing.
chairperson should be the
He's
alternate.
not here.
That chairperson, not you.
All right,
When you're not here, you get voted in a lot of stuff.
all right.
Um,
Molly and Bill.
all right.
On a Friday night, if I have to be the alternate, that's fine.
All right. Well, maybe we'll check with Bill and then decide who the alternate is.
It's a voting issue, correct?
But we could
Yes.
vote
Oh,
on
right.
that, yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So are we voting on
Roll
both
call.
the
Yeah, I think we should.
delegate and the alternate as
I think we have
Mr.
to,
Flynn?
yes.
Okay. Someone may have to make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to vote Molly Smith as our delegate this year for the MASC conference, and Mr. Holden as the alternate. Mr. Holden, or, I don't know. You offered, I'm not
Second.
really too sure. Okay,
Second.
How's that? That answer your question?
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So moved.
Tissue.
Okay. Also, under business, we have Inclusion Matters update. Mrs. Smith?
Yes. So we have lots going on over at Inclusion Matters. Our next meeting is a week from tomorrow, Tuesday, October 15th, and we'll be hosting our workshop of the year for, the topic will be on safe schools. The workshop will take place from 6:30 to 8 right here in the middle senior high school. We have a guest speaker, Carrie Noseworthy. She's the founder of A Safer Me, and she'll discuss the often ignored issues of school safety, especially for children with disabilities, and provide parents and guardians with strategies for addressing those concerns with their schools. The event will also welcome first responders and school personnel from West Bridgewater as we think together about how to make all schools and school districts safer for all kids. Also that evening, we're going to have elections for the Inclusion Matters board members. And that's next Tuesday, October 15th. And we have our second annual Voice at the Table IEP conference, which is scheduled for Saturday, November 16th at Bridgewater State University from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Registration is $50 and includes breakfast and lunch, and is a day filled with meaningful workshops, keynote sessions, and conversations with other families. And lastly, we have a night out at Hammer and Stain, South Shore in Easton, to benefit Inclusion Matters and support our guest speaker fees and family conference scholarships. And that's scheduled for Wednesday, November 20th from 6:30 to 8:30. And more information on all these events and how to register can be found at the Inclusion Matters Facebook page.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you.
Next up, we have an update on policy 7500, school property use. Mr. Holden?
Okay, the policy 7500, we are having a meeting with the minds to be on deciding a lot of different things, especially with the field use part of the policy. The meeting will be on October 9th at 3 p.m., and I'm not sure it's here, but I'm not sure which room.
It's in the business office.
Are we going to your office?
Business office.
In your area or in?
In the business office.
In the business office, Kathy.
Mrs. Grant.
Yep, Spring Street School Business Office.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. A lot of the question marks are still lying on how much use soccer will make a difference on the field, along with, I think the biggest question, and Mrs. Grant can correct me, is our fee policy and schedules. So it will probably be a very lengthy meeting with, from my eyes, several changes. Any comments?
I don't dare.
Good luck.
You sure?
Is
Last
this,
chance.
is this for you and
Mr. Flynn.
Mr. Flynn? So it's not a public?
Hopefully,
It's a subcommittee.
It's a
the school
subcommittee.
property use subcommittee.
hopefully,
Might just-
Mr. Flynn will be back on time. He says he will, but time will tell.
Do you want to vote an alternate if he's not here?
Yeah, Molly, what are you
Kathy,
doing?
would you- 3 o'clock on Wednesday.
I think we can handle it. What do you think, Mrs. Grant?
Warrant Subcommittee report?
Yes,
Mrs.
that is
Sullivan?
me. The following warrants were issued and paid for fiscal year 2019. The bill warrants dated September 19th, 2019, in the amount of $168,539.55. A bill warrant dated September 26th, 2019, in the amount of $68,402.40. And then the last bill warrant dated October 3rd, 2019, in the amount of $91,859. And there were 2 payroll warrants, one dated September 19th, 2019, in the amount of $476,446.87. And then a payroll warrant dated October 4th, 2019, in the amount of $482,864.11. As always, all warrants are public record and once signed are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you. Thank you. Public forum. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members are reminded that personnel issues or issues that would violate student confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public forum. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the calendar. District-wide school council meetings at Howard, November 4th at 2:45 p.m., at Roselle, October 28th at 3:30 p.m., Middle Senior High School, October 15th at 2:30 p.m. The October PTO meeting will be held October 29th at 7 p.m. in the Roselle McDonald CAF. The next athletic boosters meeting is October 9th at 7 p.m. here in the Middle Senior High School Teachers Room. And Inclusion Matters, as Mrs. Smith mentioned, October 15th at 6:30 here in the Learning Commons. At the Middle Senior High School on October 23rd at 6 p.m., they'll be having a financial aid night. At the Howard School, the Walk Your Socks fundraiser will take place on October 18th. October 23rd, we'll be reading is Fundamental Distribution. On October 24th, grade 5 will take a field trip to Sturbridge Village. And October 30th is Picture Retake Day. At the Roselle McDonald School on October 8th is the Reading is Fundamental Distribution. October 16th is Picture Retake Day. On October 23rd, the Museum of Science is presenting animal adaptations for grade 3, which is sponsored by the PTO. October 25th is the Monster Mash party. It's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., which is sponsored by RIF, West Bridgewater Lions, and Healthy Smiles. And on November 1st, third graders will be going on a field trip to Plymouth Plantation.
I forgot one other date, and that's the Rock Your Socks event that we're doing throughout the schools in October. Who knows the date?
I saw the tweet on that. Hold on.
October 18th.
October 18th, okay.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's Rock Your Socks?
Rock Your Socks. So wear
And
like
it's at
fun-
all 3 buildings.
Yeah, so wear fun socks, and you can, everyone can wear fun socks any day, but definitely that day. And if you make a donation, it goes to Inclusion Matters. Of course, yes, as Corey, as Mr. Michael Isaac as example,
He's cutting a
you can rock
jump
your
start.
socks every day, but.
That's at least a $20 donation right there. Hold them to that.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that we're doing it district-wide. In years past, it's been very successful at the Roselle McDonald School and at the, I believe at the Howard School, at the Roselle McDonald School, but this year it's district-wide, so very exciting.
All right, thank you. I think I left off Spring Street School, October 8th and 9th is school pictures. October 10th is curriculum night, and October 17th and 18th, there is a kindergarten field trip to CNC Reading Farm. Our next regular school committee meeting will be on Monday, November 4th, here in the Learning Commons. And next is our adjournment and motion to go into executive session.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
This is, so to move to enter into executive session to discuss contract issues as per Chapter 39, Section 23B, Paragraph 3 of the open meeting law, and not to return to open session thereafter.
And this is a roll call vote. Ms.
Aye.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And have a good night.